Hello everyone. We are continuing with our series titled Doctrine of the Bible. And in this series, we are planning to do a number of sections. For example, the revelation of Scripture, the inspiration of Scripture, the canonization of Scripture, the authority of Scripture, the reliability of Scripture, and so on. And thus far in our discussions on the doctrine of revelation of Scripture, we have done two videos. In the first one, I introduced natural revelation to us. And in the second video, we talked about how natural revelation can be a launching pad in sharing the gospel with other people. Now, in this video, we're going to look at a different kind of revelation that God has given to humanity. And we call this special revelation. Now, special revelation is the revelation of God that God has given to special people at special places and at special times. Or in other words, these are revelations given by God to specific people of specific places and specific times. This is different from natural revelation, the revelation of God that is given to all peoples of all places and all times. Now, what do we mean by special revelation? How exactly has God done special revelation? Now, God has spoken to different people in different ways. For example, God has given people dreams and visions, and He has made His will known to different individuals in that manner. God has spoken to people through angels, and through angels, He has communicated His message to His people. And sometimes God has spoken audibly to people. God has had personal relationships with the giants of Scripture. And through all of these, God was revealing Himself, His plans and purposes to specific peoples of specific places and specific times. In this video, I'm going to focus our attention on two kinds of revelations that God has given in the form of special revelation to specific peoples of specific places and specific times. I'm going to talk about how God has revealed Himself through history. Now, that again is a huge topic. We are going to focus our attention on what God has done for the people of Israel in Egypt and their coming out of Egypt through the desert into the promised land. You remember in the book of Exodus, God performed several miracles. He sent several plagues upon the people of Egypt. Now, the purpose in His doing that was to reveal Himself to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to the officials of the land of Egypt, to the Egyptians themselves, and to the people of Israel, so that all of them would know who God is. For example, when God sent the plague where He converted the water of the river of Nile into blood, He was telling the people of Egypt that you may think of Nile as a god or a goddess, and you may worship Nile. But you need to know that I am far superior to Nile, and I am the God who made the river Nile, and I can turn the water into blood when I want to, and I can turn it back into water when I want to. So here is a historical incident through which God is revealing who He is to the people of Egypt and to the people of Israel. Let me give you another example. God shut the sun down during the plague of darkness, such that the Egyptians lived during a time of darkness. Again, God was telling the Egyptians that you may consider the sun to be a god, but I am the one who made the sun. It is part of my creation. It is not God. I am the one that you must worship. I can switch off the sun when I want to, and I can switch it back on when I want to. And so God is revealing Himself to the Egyptians, and He is revealing Himself to the Israelites as well. Now, when God is leading the people of Israel into the Red Sea, the miraculous event that happened there, the splitting of the Red Sea, and the people of Israel passing through the Red Sea to the other side, and the armies of Egypt getting caught between the waters in the Red Sea. What God is revealing through those historical events is that He is a God who can create a way where there seems to be no way. He is a way maker. He is also revealing Himself as the God of judgment. He is revealing Himself as the God of the armies. So through these historical incidents, God is revealing Himself. When God led the people of Israel through the desert and provided them with manna and with water, God was showing them that He is God the provider. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. God is able to provide for His people even when they are not able to sow or reap. The story of manna, the miracle of manna, is exactly that. When God led the people of Israel into the promised land and He gave them victories in those promised land, God was revealing to the Israelites that He is a God of promises. The promises that He made to their forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is showing them that He is a God of faithfulness. And so what you see here is through a series of historical events that is happening in 50, 60, or 70 years, God is revealing His character, His nature, His plans, His purposes to the people of Israel, such that they would know who He is when they worship Him. Now, all through the Old Testament, we have several historical incidents where God is revealing His nature and character to His people. And we don't have the time to get into all of that. We know that the life of Jesus was also a historical event through which God was revealing Himself to the people of God. Now, I want to go to the second section of this video where I want to speak about how God revealed Himself to His people through prophecies. Now, through the prophecies that God gave the people of Israel in the Old Testament, there were at least three kinds of prophecies. Number one, there were prophecies concerning the people of Israel. Number two, there were prophecies concerning the nations surrounding Jerusalem and Israel. And number three, there were prophecies concerning Christ. So all the prophecies of the Bible can be divided into these three sections: prophecies concerning Israel, prophecies concerning the nations, and prophecies concerning Christ. Now, why did God give the people of Israel these prophecies? God did that so that the people of Israel would recognize that God is sovereign, that He is above all, that He is in control over human history. God can judge people for their punishments, and God can deliver people in His mercy and grace. And so God is revealing His plans and purposes sometimes hundreds of years ahead of time, and sometimes even thousands of years before time. And God is telling the people of Israel and the people of God to us, as His plans can never be thwarted by anyone. And so God, through history, God, through prophecies, is making Himself known. Now, what is all of this? This is special revelation, because God is revealing Himself to specific peoples of specific places and specific times. Now, the Bible, or a scripture, is the written record of all of God's special revelations. Now, imagine if these special revelations were not written down. God would have revealed Himself to one generation. Maybe they would have been able to pass this information on to the second generation. But as generations pass by, the special revelation that God gave to a community of people would be lost over time. And therefore, God asked from the beginning in Moses to write these things down. The special revelations that God gave the people of Israel were to be written down such that it would benefit the people who were to come later. And so generations who live in the 20th century, 21st century, we are benefited from the special revelations that God gave to Moses, God gave to Isaiah, God gave to Jeremiah, God gave to Ezekiel, God gave to the apostles, and so on, because they were all written down so that we would benefit out of it. What is the purpose of writing these special revelations down? Number one, it is to reveal God. When we read the Bible, when we read these special revelations, we recognize God's character. We recognize God's nature, God's will, God's plans, and God's purposes. We get to know who God is so that we can have a relationship with Him. So number one, it is to reveal God. Number two, through these special revelations that are recorded for us in Scripture, God is also revealing us to us. He speaks about the origins of humanity. He speaks about the fall of humankind. He talks about human nature, God's plan of salvation for human nature, and so on. So number one, special revelations have been written down, and we call it the Bible, so that number one, it could reveal God to us. Number two, it could reveal man to us. Number three, it could reveal salvation. God's heart for and God's provisions for salvation is found in the Scripture through special revelation. And the Bible also reveals to us the blessings of a restored relationship with God. What happens when you say yes to God? What happens when you obey God? What happens when you follow God? The blessings that follow, the obedience, the faith, the submission, the following is described to us in Scripture. And so we talked about natural revelation, the revelation that God has given to all peoples of all places and all times. And in this video, we talked about God's special revelations that He has given to specific peoples of specific places and specific times, and they are written down for us in the form of Scripture, and we today benefit from the written record of all these special revelations. When we come to our next video, we would talk about the inspiration of Scripture. All these revelations had to be written down, but they were written down under the inspiration of God. And what is that? We would discuss that in the next video. I believe you have been blessed by this teaching. God continue to bless you.